Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, Treasure Hunters, Coin Collectors, and History Lovers. Today, we're traveling back in time, to the year 1950, for a story that proves just how much power can be packed into something as small as a penny. That's right, we're diving deep into one of the most iconic and nostalgic coins in American history, the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny. Now, don't let the size of this coin fool you. This isn't just any old piece of copper you might toss in a jar or leave in the bottom of your car's cup holder. This tiny coin is a doorway to post-war America, and in some rare cases, it's also a key to an unexpected fortune. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why the 1950 Lincoln Wheat Penny is far more than just 1 cent. It could be worth far more than you'd ever expect, and yes, one could even change your life. Let's set the stage. The year is 1950. America was in a period of tremendous change. World War II had ended just 5 years earlier. Soldiers had returned home. Families were growing. Suburbs were expanding. The economy was booming. And in the middle of it all, the humble penny, the most basic unit of currency, was quietly evolving as well. The Lincoln Wheat Penny had been around since 1909, when it was first introduced to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, and not just any person, but one of the most beloved presidents in American history. From 1909 to 1958, the coin featured 2 classic wheat stalks on the reverse side, surrounding the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. These 2 wheat ears gave the coin its nickname, the Wheat Penny. It's a design that's simple, elegant, and deeply nostalgic for anyone who grew up in the mid-20th century, but by 1950, many things had changed. The U.S. Mint was making coins in 3 primary locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each of these coins bore a different mint mark, or none at all. Here's how to spot them. If your penny has no mint mark below the date, it was minted in Philadelphia. If it has a tiny D under the year, that means it came from Denver, and if it bears an S, it was struck in San Francisco. Now, why do these mint marks matter? Because the number of coins produced at each mint varied, sometimes drastically. And as any collector knows, rarity can turn an ordinary coin into a highly prized gem. In 1950, Philadelphia minted over 272 million wheat pennies. Denver produced 334 million, while San Francisco minted 118 million. So at first glance, none of these numbers look particularly rare. But the true value lies in condition, errors, and minting anomalies. You see, most of these pennies were heavily circulated. They passed through countless hands, lived in pockets and purses, fell between couch cushions, and jingled in cash registers across the nation. As a result, most 1950 pennies you'll find today are worn down, scratched, faded, and far from perfect. But once in a while, just once in a very rare while, a penny surfaces that defies the odds. One that was never circulated. One that was preserved in near-perfect condition. One that, for reasons we may never know, was set aside the moment it was minted, safely tucked away in a folder, a bank bag, or a coin roll, waiting for the right collector to discover it decades later. And that's not even the most exciting part. Let's talk about error coins. 1950 was a time before modern quality control. The minting process was fast and furious, and errors could, and did, slip through. Some of the most valuable 1950 wheat pennies ever discovered were struck with remarkable mistakes: double die obverse, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, die cracks, and planchet flaws. These aren't just oddities, they are collector gold. A famous example? The 1950 D/D RPM, repunched mint mark. In this variety, the D mint mark from Denver was punched more than once, slightly misaligned, resulting in a shadow-like doubling effect under magnification. To an untrained eye, it might look like a smudge. But to collectors, it's a clear sign of rarity. Another sought-after find? The 1950 S Lincoln penny with die cracks running through Lincoln's coat or jawline. These imperfections in the die created raised lines across the coin, tiny, natural scars that make the coin totally unique. But here's the real kicker: condition matters more than anything. A coin with a rare error that's heavily circulated won't be worth nearly as much as the same coin in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially one graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale. Anything above MS 65, mint state 65, is already impressive. But if a 1950 wheat penny, particularly one with a Denver or San Francisco mint mark and a rare error, is discovered in mint state 67 or higher, the value skyrockets. Now imagine this: someone discovers an old collection in their grandfather's attic. Inside is a small box labeled Pennies, 1950s. Nothing fancy. Just a dusty, forgotten box. They open it and find dozens of wheat pennies. One of them, a 1950, catches the eye. The coin is gleaming. Perfect luster. Razor-sharp details. No wear, no scratches. They take it to be graded, and the results come back that it's a 1950 wheat penny, double die reverse, mint state 67 red, only one known to exist in this grade. Suddenly, the little copper coin that had sat quietly in a box for over 70 years is the subject of bidding wars from collectors across the country. Emails pour in. Auction houses get involved. Offers start rolling in, and when the final bid is placed, the gavel falls, and the coin is sold. That single, unassuming penny has just sold for an unbelievable $100,000. Yes, you heard me, $100,000 for a 1-cent coin. A piece of change that once bought a gumball, now worth more than some luxury cars. So what does this mean for you? It means your next big find might not be in a gold mine or under the ocean. It could be in a coffee can, an old coin jar, or a forgotten envelope from decades past. The 1950 Lincoln wheat penny is proof that true value sometimes hides in plain sight. If you have old wheat pennies lying around, now is the time to check them. Look at the date. Look for mint marks. Check the condition. Use a magnifier. And if something looks different, send it to be graded. You just never know. Today, we're going back over 70 years, to a time when a penny wasn't just spare change, it was a symbol of American grit, post-war resilience, and deep history. That's right, we're unlocking the secrets of one of the most iconic coins in American numismatics, the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny. And if you think a penny's just worth 1 cent, by the time we're done here, you might be digging through your old jars, drawers, and childhood piggy banks. Because this little coin has the potential to be worth far more than you ever imagined. Stick around, because by the end of this video, we'll reveal the jaw-dropping value of one of the rarest 1952 wheat pennies ever found. And trust me, you're going to want to hear it. Let's dive into the story. The year is 1952. America is in the heart of the post-World War II boom. Families are moving to the suburbs, televisions are becoming mainstream, and the country is riding the waves of economic growth. But while big changes are happening across the nation, one small thing continues its humble journey: the Lincoln wheat penny. This coin had already been circulating for over 4 decades by 1952. First minted in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, the wheat penny became a symbol of American pride. For nearly 50 years, it carried Lincoln's noble profile on the front, and those iconic wheat stalks on the back, representing strength, agriculture, and national prosperity. In 1952, Lincoln wheat pennies were produced at 3 major U.S. mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint added its own small signature to the coin. No mint mark meant the coin came from Philadelphia. A small D under the date signified Denver, and a tiny S indicated the coin was struck in San Francisco. Now you might be wondering, why do these little letters matter? Well, the value of a coin isn't just in its age. It's in the details: where it was made, how many were made, and what happened during the minting process. And when it comes to the 1952 wheat penny, those details can mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent, and one that's worth thousands. Let's take a quick look at the numbers. In 1952, the Philadelphia Mint produced over 186 million pennies. Denver? 746 million. And San Francisco? Just under 137 million. So the Denver Mint had the largest output by far. But here's where things get interesting. It's not just about how many were made, but how well they've survived, and whether any rare errors or variations occurred along the way. That's right, we're talking about mint errors. These are the hidden gems in the coin world. Accidental mistakes made during the minting process that slipped through quality control and into circulation. And when it comes to error coins, even a small flaw can mean massive value. Let's talk about a few types of errors you might find on a 1952 penny. First, we have the double die, a misalignment during striking that causes a ghost-like doubling of letters or numbers. On a 1952 penny, doubling on the word Liberty or the date itself can be a major signal of value. Then there are repunched mint marks, where a mint mark was stamped more than once, usually slightly off-center, creating a sort of shadow effect. These RPMs are especially desirable for coins from the Denver and San Francisco mints. Other error types include off-center strikes, where the coin's design is shifted from its normal position, die cracks, where lines appear due to fractures in the stamping die, and even clipped planchets, where a piece of the coin's edge is missing from a cutting error. Every one of these mistakes, as long as they're from the minting process, increases a coin's uniqueness and, often, its market value. But condition? That's just as important. In the world of coin grading, we use the Sheldon scale, from 1 to 70. A grade of MS 60 means the coin is uncirculated but with minor flaws. But at MS 65 and above, you're talking about a near-perfect coin. And for collectors, especially those hunting for high-grade wheat pennies from the 1950s, a pristine specimen with original luster, clean fields, and nowhere is a jackpot. So what's the holy grail for a 1952 Lincoln wheat penny? It's a coin that checks all the boxes, a rare mint mark, like an S or D, possibly with a repunched mark, a dramatic mint error, like a strong double die or off-center strike, perfect or near-perfect condition, with a grade of MS 66 or higher, preferably red, that bright. Original copper color collectors crave. Now here's the real story. Not long ago, a family in Ohio was going through their grandfather's belongings. He had served in Korea, worked at a steel plant, and saved coins his whole life. Inside an old tobacco tin were dozens of wheat pennies, mostly common. But one stood out, a 1952 S, gleaming with brilliance. No fingerprints. No wear. Sharp edges. A beautiful red copper tone like it was just minted yesterday. They sent it to be graded. The verdict? Mint state 67 red, with a noticeable repunched mint mark. The coin was a beauty, and one of only a few known in this condition with that error. News of the coin spread. Collectors began calling. Emails rolled in. Auction houses made offers. The family decided to let it go, and when the bidding stopped, when the final offer came in, the crowd gasped. That tiny coin, no bigger than a dime, had just sold for $90,000. Yes, you heard that right. $90,000 for a single penny. A coin you could have overlooked, spent without a second thought, or lost in a couch cushion. That's the magic of coin collecting. That's the power of knowing what to look for. And that's why you should never ignore a wheat penny, especially one from 1952. What can you do now? Grab your magnifying glass. Open your old coin jars. Dust off those childhood collections. Look for the year 1952. Check for mint marks, especially D and S. Look for anything unusual, doubling, cracks, off-center strikes. And most importantly, if your coin is in good shape, consider getting it graded, because who knows? You might be holding on to more than just a piece of copper. You might be holding your next big discovery. Today, we're taking another exciting journey into the world of hidden currency treasures. But this time, it's all about a coin that millions of Americans have held, spent, or saved over the years without realizing it might be worth a small fortune. Yes, we're talking about the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny, a coin with a classic design, a fascinating backstory, and a few rare secrets that have made it one of the most coveted pieces among penny collectors across the globe. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we uncover what makes this simple 1-cent coin from 1953 so special, and why, in some extraordinary cases, it could be worth far far more than a single cent. Let's begin where all great coin stories begin, with history. The year was 1953. Dwight D. Eisenhower had just become President of the United States. The Korean War was nearing its end. The Cold War was heating up. And America was entering an era of optimism, technology, and economic growth. Amid all these sweeping changes, the humble penny continued its quiet circulation, passing from hand to hand, business to business, town to town. But the 1953 penny wasn't just a coin. It was a reflection of the American spirit, simple, sturdy, and full of stories. And it continued a long-standing tradition started in 1909, the year the U.S. Mint first introduced the Lincoln cent, honoring our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln, on the 100th anniversary of his birth. Now let's talk about the design. On the obverse, we see a portrait of Lincoln, dignified and proud, facing right. The words, "In God We Trust," curve over his head, "Liberty," to his left, and the date, 1953, on the right. Beneath the date? That's where things get especially interesting, because right under that year, you may find a tiny letter. That letter is what we call a mint mark, and it holds the key to the coin's origin. For the 1953 Lincoln wheat penny, there were 3 mint marks to look out for. No mint mark means the coin was produced in Philadelphia. A small D stands for Denver, and a tiny S indicates it came from the San Francisco Mint. Philadelphia was, as always, the workhorse mint, churning out over 256 million pennies in 1953. Denver took the lead that year, producing over 700 million, while San Francisco created a much smaller batch, just 181 million. Though those numbers sound massive, not all coins were created, or preserved, equally, and that brings us to what really matters to collectors: rarity, condition, and errors. The majority of 1953 pennies went into circulation and stayed there for decades. They were dropped, scratched, rubbed, and spent, worn down by daily life. Most are what collectors call circulated, showing obvious signs of use. But once in a while, someone tucked one away. Maybe it was saved as a good luck charm, maybe it ended up in a bankroll that was never opened, or maybe it was part of a childhood coin collection that's only now seeing the light of day. It's these rare, uncirculated examples, especially those in pristine condition, that hold serious collector value. But that's just the beginning. Let's talk about the hidden stars of the 1953 penny family, the error coins. These are the wildcards that turn everyday coins into legendary collector finds. Among the most famous 1953 errors are double die obverse, DDO. This is when the design is struck twice, slightly off position. You'll see doubling in the letters, especially Liberty, In God We Trust, or the numbers in the date. It's subtle but unmistakable once you know what to look for. Repunched mint marks, RPMs, found most often on 1953 D and 1953 S coins. This error occurs when the mint mark is punched more than once in slightly different positions. Under magnification, it looks like a ghostly shadow behind or beside the main letter. Off-center strikes. These coins were improperly aligned during minting, leaving part of the design missing or uneven. The more dramatic the misalignment, the higher the value. Clipped planchets. These are coins that were cut incorrectly from the metal sheets, resulting in a curved or missing chunk along the edge of the penny. Die cracks and cuds. These occur when the die, the tool that stamps the coin, begins to fracture or wear down, leaving raised lines, blobs, or other distortions in the design. Collectors absolutely love these anomalies because they are one of a kind. No two error coins are exactly alike, which makes them both fascinating and incredibly valuable to the right buyer. But even without an error, the 1953 penny can still be highly valuable, if it's in the right condition. Grading plays a huge role here. Professional coin grading companies like PCGS or NGC use a 70-point scale to determine the quality of a coin. Anything graded MS 60 or above is considered mint state, meaning it has never been circulated. A grade of MS 65, MS 66, or even MS 67. Now we're entering elite territory. Throw in a bright, original copper red color and maybe a rare mint mark or error, and you've got a coin that collectors will fight to own. Imagine this: a young girl receives a small coin folder as a birthday gift from her grandfather in 1953. He works at the post office and likes to save special coins he comes across. She places a shiny new penny inside, a 1953 Lincoln wheat penny that still glows with original red luster. For decades, the folder remains untouched, tucked away in a desk drawer, safe from air, moisture, and human handling. 70 years later, the now-grown granddaughter finds it again. Curious, she takes it to a coin dealer. The dealer's eyes widen. They recommend sending it in for grading. The result? Mint state 67 red, and a strong RPM error on the mint mark. The phone starts ringing. Emails start coming in. Auction houses express interest. Word spreads through the numismatic community, and when the bidding ends, and the auctioneer's gavel drops, the coin that was once worth just a single cent is sold for a stunning $98,000. That's right, $98,000 for a penny. A coin you might find in a dusty jar or an old cigar box. A coin that millions of people held without a second thought. A coin that proves sometimes the most valuable things in life are the ones we overlook the most. So what's the lesson? Check your change. Revisit your family's coin collections. Take a closer look at those wheat pennies, especially the ones from 1953. Look for mint marks. Look for shine. Look for flaws. And if you find something that feels off or too perfect, don't ignore it, get it graded. You might just be holding a small copper miracle in the palm of your hand. Today, we're diving deep into a coin that might seem small, ordinary, or even forgotten, but behind its copper shine lies a fascinating story, powerful symbolism, and for a lucky few, an unexpected fortune. That's right. Today's spotlight is on the 1954 Lincoln wheat penny, a coin that's been quietly circulating through America's pockets for over 70 years, but still holds secrets that continue to shock even seasoned collectors. If you think a penny's just a penny, you're going to want to watch this entire video. Because this isn't just a 1-cent piece. It could be a historical artifact. A collector's dream. And yes, in rare cases, a ticket to a life-changing amount of money. Let's rewind to the world of 1954. The United States was in the middle of the post-war boom. The economy was expanding, suburbs were growing, and the American dream was taking root. The Cold War was intensifying, Elvis Presley had just recorded his first single, and televisions were entering living rooms across the country. Amid all that transformation, one thing stayed beautifully consistent: the Lincoln wheat cent. This penny wasn't new to Americans in 1954, it had already been around for 45 years. First issued in 1909 to commemorate Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday, the wheat penny was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person. The design was bold for its time, Lincoln's profile on the obverse, the front, with the words, "In God We Trust," arching above his head, "Liberty," to the left, and the date on the right. On the reverse, two classic wheat stalks curve around the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. It's clean, simple, powerful. The wheat represents prosperity and growth, fitting for the America of the 1950s. Now, let's zoom in on the 1954 edition. That little date at the bottom of the coin? That's where the story gets interesting. In 1954, Lincoln wheat pennies were produced at 3 different U.S. mint locations. If your coin has no mint mark under the date, it was minted in Philadelphia. A small d indicates it came from Denver, and a tiny s shows it was struck in San Francisco. Here's the mintage breakdown. Philadelphia produced 71 million coins. Denver minted over 251 million. San Francisco struck around 96 million before stopping penny production entirely the very next year. That's right, 1954 was the final year the San Francisco Mint would ever produce Lincoln wheat pennies. That alone makes the 1954s an important piece in the series, a symbolic end to an era, but as any collector will tell you, it's not just about how many were made, it's about how many survived, and in what condition. The vast majority of 1954 pennies were circulated heavily. They passed from hand to hand, wore down in cash registers, fell between couch cushions, and picked up dings, scratches, and wear over time. A typical 1954 penny today might be worth just a few cents, unless, of course, you happen to have one of the rare ones, and this is where things start to heat up. what makes a 1954 penny valuable isn't just the date or the mint mark. It's the combination of condition, rarity, and most importantly, errors. Let's talk about mint errors, because these are where ordinary coins become extraordinary. Point one of the most sought-after 1954 errors is the double die obverse, where parts of the design, especially the lettering or the date, appear doubled. The doubling can be subtle or dramatic, but collectors go wild for these. Then we have the RPM, or repunched mint mark, where the mint mark, especially the D or S, was punched twice in slightly different positions. Under magnification, it looks like a ghost or shadow behind the primary letter. These RPM errors are a hot topic in the collecting world, especially for 1954 D and 1954 S cents. Other rare errors include off-center strikes, where the image is shifted off the coin center, die cracks, small raised lines across the surface, caused by worn minting tools. BAE errors, a die break between the B and E in Liberty that looks like a tiny I. A quirky favorite among wheat penny fans, clipped planchets, where part of the coin's edge is literally missing due to a mistake in the metal cutting process. Each of these minting mistakes increases the coin's rarity and, if combined with a high grade, can send its value soaring. Speaking of grading, let's break it down. Coins are graded on the Sheldon scale, from 1 to 70. A grade of MS 60 to MS 63 means the coin is uncirculated, but has minor flaws. MS 64 to MS 66. That's where things get exciting. Nearly perfect coins with sharp strikes and great eye appeal, and a mint state 67 or 68 red? That's the dream. The highest levels of beauty, shine, and preservation. Collectors will pay serious money for a 1954 Lincoln wheat penny in top condition, especially with a bright coppery, red tone, which means the coin hasn't dulled or darkened with age. Now, imagine this scenario. A young boy receives a coin folder from his father in 1954. They sit together, collecting pennies from pocket change, one at a time. One day, they find a gleaming, flawless 1954 S penny and place it gently in the slot. The folder is sealed, forgotten in a box, and moved from house to house for decades. Fast forward 70 years. That boy is now a grandfather, and his grandson finds the folder in the attic. Curious, he brings the coin to a professional grader. The result? A 1954 S Lincoln wheat penny, with a repunched mint mark, mint state 67 red, one of the highest graded examples in existence. Word spreads. Auction houses take notice. Collectors line up, and when the hammer finally falls at a national coin auction, the once humble penny is sold for a life-changing amount. $85,000, yes, you heard that right. $85,000, for a single 1-cent coin from 1954. That's the magic of numismatics. That's the reason coin collecting isn't just a hobby, it's a journey through history, value, and wonder. Because the coins in your pocket, your drawers, your childhood collections, they just might hold hidden treasures waiting to be discovered. So what should you do next? Dig out your change jars. Check your old coin albums. Look at every penny from 1954, especially those with mint marks. Use a magnifier. Look for unusual letters, doubling, odd shapes. And if you see something special, don't spend it. Protect it, and get it professionally graded, because what looks like just another penny could turn out to be your greatest find. Today, we're taking a deep dive into one of America's most iconic and historically rich coins, the 1958 Lincoln wheat penny. This humble 1-cent piece might be small in size, but it carries a big story, rich symbolism, and, for some lucky collectors, a value that can change lives. The Lincoln wheat penny series has been a beloved staple of American coinage since 1909, and the 1958 issue represents one of the final chapters of this iconic design's long run. But what makes this particular penny stand out? And why should collectors keep their eyes peeled for it? That's exactly what we're going to explore today, so buckle up, because this story is full of surprises. Let's start with a little history. The year 1958 was a time of transition in the United States. The post-war economic boom was in full swing, the baby boomers were growing up, and American culture was on the brink of monumental change. But amid all this, one thing remained constant: the Lincoln wheat penny. It had been in circulation for nearly 50 years, and the image of Lincoln's dignified profile was familiar to nearly every American. The obverse of the coin features Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president, whose leadership during the Civil War and legacy of unity remain profoundly significant. This was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, breaking tradition and setting a precedent for future coins. On the reverse side, the coin proudly displays two stalks of wheat, symbolic of prosperity and the agricultural heritage that built much of the nation. The design is simple yet elegant, encapsulating the American spirit in a tiny copper disc. Now, let's talk about the mint marks. The 1958 Lincoln wheat penny was produced at three mints: the Philadelphia Mint, where pennies were minted without any mint mark; the Denver Mint, which stamped a small D below the date; and the San Francisco Mint, marked with an S. Each mint produced millions of pennies, but as with all coins, it's not just about quantity. Condition and rarity play massive roles in determining value. What makes the 1958 penny particularly fascinating for collectors are the rare mint errors and the conditions in which these pennies survive today. Over the years, many 1958 pennies have been circulated heavily, which often reduces their value to just face value. But coins that escaped circulation and were preserved in mint condition are a different story altogether. Among the most prized are those with mint state condition, coins that show no signs of wear, retain their original luster, and exhibit sharp details in both Lincoln's profile and the wheat stalks. But rarity doesn't stop at condition. The world of coin collecting is obsessed with errors, and the 1958 penny has its share of them. One of the most sought after is the double die error, where you can actually see a doubling of the date, lettering, or design elements when viewed under magnification. These striking errors occur during the minting process when the coin is struck more than once with a slight misalignment. Another fascinating rarity is the repunched mint mark, RPM. Imagine the tiny D or S being stamped twice, with the second punch slightly off-center, giving the coin a shadow or ghost-like appearance of the mint mark. This feature is incredibly desirable for collectors, especially in higher grades. There are also off-center strikes and die cracks that make specific 1958 pennies highly collectible. These minting quirks offer a glimpse into the production process at the time and make each coin a unique piece of history. Now, when it comes to grading, coins are carefully evaluated on a scale from 1 to 70, the Sheldon scale. Coins graded between MS 60 and MS 65 are considered uncirculated, with MS 65 being a coin with superb luster and virtually no imperfections. Achieving this grade can mean the difference between a penny worth a few cents and one that commands a hefty premium, but the real magic happens when you combine a rare mint mark, exceptional condition, and a notable error. That's when 1958 pennies become true treasures. Imagine owning a flawless 1958 D Lincoln wheat penny with a clear repunched mint mark, or a 1958 S with a visible double die error. These coins are gems for collectors, shining examples of minting craftsmanship and the quirks that make each penny unique. So, what could one of these rare coins be worth today? While most circulated 1958 pennies are worth only their face value or a bit more, a coin in pristine, uncirculated condition with rare mint errors and mint marks can fetch a surprisingly high price at auction. The highest grade examples, especially those with certified errors and pristine, red copper coloration, are commanding serious attention from collectors and investors alike. And here's the reveal you've been waiting for: the top tier, rarest 1958 Lincoln wheat penny with a notable mint mark and minting error can reach a staggering value of $80,000. Yes, you heard that right. $80,000 for a penny that was once just loose change jingling in a pocket. It's a testament to the passion and dedication of the numismatic community and a reminder that even the smallest coins can hold incredible stories and value. If you're inspired to look through your old coin collections or spare change, remember, every penny has a story, and sometimes, that story is worth a small fortune. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the fascinating world of the 1958 Lincoln wheat penny. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss out on the next incredible coin story. Keep hunting, stay curious, and happy collecting.